Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Jeffrey and you're welcome to the Inquisitive Universe. As usual, we talk tech here, especially smartphone tech. And today we are going to be talking about the third largest SoC manufacturer. We call them Unisoc. UNI-SoC. Let's get started. Now, Unisoc didn't actually start as Unisoc. It started as Spreadtrum Communications Incorporated, and they made semiconductors for for phones, for electronic gadgets, what have you. But they were purchased in 2013 by the Xinhua Uni Group, and they were made to focus on making SoCs for smartphones, and that was what they did for a long time. In fact, till now. Now, when they came into the market, their structure was simple, their plan was simple. They realized that companies like Qualcomm had already hogged the high-end. Third-party manufacturers now, Qualcomm were already hogging the mid-range and the high-end. This is 2013 now, mind you. Things were different back then. And MediaTek were hogging, like the budgets and the entry level. So they were like, where can we fit in? So they're looking for a space that nobody was really going to compete with them in. And then they found a space at the very bottom of the market. When I mean bottom, if you think MediaTek SoCs back then were entry level, Unisoc SoCs were lower, like in terms of performance. And as a result, they were much cheaper. So if you see their SoCs from back then, you would see specifications like they were quad core. They used a basic ARM Cortex A7 CPUs. They used Mali 400 series GPUs. They were built on 28 nanometer process. Of course, they were ARM v7 SoCs. Basically, they usually run at around 1.2, 1.3 gigahertz, and then they used LPDDR2 or LPDDR3 RAM. Like those were the specs that they offered at the very bottom of the market, and then they mass produced these SoCs and then they sold them. You'd see names from back then like the Spreadtrum SC7727, the SC7730, the SC7731G. You see names like that, and they sold them very cheap. And of course, they put a lot of companies in business. There are a lot of companies that were unable to afford SoCs from MediaTek or from Qualcomm or from Samsung. If Samsung actually decided to license out their SoCs to companies that needed them, that needed SoCs. So companies who wanted to make phones but couldn't afford those SoCs happily ran to Spreadtrum, and they started buying their SoCs, and they put a lot of companies in business. Not just even, you see companies now like Lego, for example, like Doogie, for example, like Inju, for example. Think of any low-end company that was in business back then, any low-end company at all. They were using Spreadtrum SoCs. Now, for the time it didn't really matter. It was okay. For the time it didn't really matter. Like, these guys were actually making a killing because Android wasn't really mature then. What did we do on Android? WhatsApp, maybe. Basic tasks. Simple games like Candy Crush and Angry Birds and Temple Run and Subway Surf. That was basically all we did. But it didn't stay that way for long. It did not stay that way for long. Android started to mature. Apps started to mature. Games started to mature. And these SoCs were now taken to their limit. And then soon people found out that these things were inadequate for the modern rigors of Android. And that was when everybody's ears started perking up. Like, what's happening here? What's happening here? People's phones started to get hot for no reason. Especially when Android left that Android 4.42 and then went all the way to Android 5, 6, 7, 8. Android 8. I think Android 8 is Oreo. Yeah, I think that was that time. And all you had, people using these phones with these old SoCs from 2014, all they had to do was smile at their phones. All they had to do was unlock their phones, and the phones would begin to get hot. And people started to what's happening? And of course, the more tech-savvy ones immediately got to investigating, did their research, and then found out that it was the SoC on board. It was the SoC on board, and that pissed off a lot of people. A lot of people went to social media, and there was a lot of noise, and many people started to boycott phones that were using Spreadtrum SoCs. So that was where the bad reputation came from. Back in the day on Ireland, we used to refer to phones with Spreadtrum SoCs as electric cookers and pressing irons and heaters. think of any name, that any gadget that produces heat or is used as a heat application device. we just basically name the phone for you. That's what the phone was for. And it's hilarious now, but back then it was really terrible because, you know, we were young, we were growing up, we didn't have that much purchasing power. And then these companies went to sell phones with these SoCs as though they were better than they actually were. And we spent good money to buy them. And then see what was happening to us. It was painful, it hurts. And that's why till today it's still burned in a lot of people's minds to never cross any company or any phone that uses a Spreadtrum SoC. So I think it was not just here, all over the world too. I think the bad rep went on. So the Xinhua Uni Group decided to go and purchase another company, a microelectronic company called RDA Microelectronics. So RDA, when they bought RDA had extensive experience with making modern SoCs, and so they took RDA and they combined it with Spreadtrum, and then it now became what we now know today as Unisoc. UNISOC. So that's now the modern Unisoc that you and I know today. And so they decided to drop a lot of their older SoCs. They dropped many of them. Those 3G ones that use 4 quad-core SoCs, ARM v7 Cortex-A7 CPUs that supported eMMC, old eMMC 2, 3 storage that supported LPDDR2, 3 storage that ran at 1.2 GHz. Dropped all of them. And then they decided to rebrand. So as it's Unisoc, they decided to rebrand the name. So it was no more SC, whatever anymore. It was now Unisoc Tiger or the Unisoc T series of SoCs. And then they decided that, you know what, we're not going to target the bottom of the market again. We're going to go basic entry level, not bottom entry level, basic entry level, budget, and mid-range. And that's what they are currently doing right now as we speak right now. So you see SoCs now like the T606, the T610, the T612, the T616, the T618, right? The T710, the T760, the T820. You see SoCs like that. These new SoCs are testament to the fact that the Xinhua Uni Group are trying to leave the Spreadtrum legacy behind and move on and forge a new one, the Tiger legacy, the Unisoc Tiger legacy. And there are many people right now today who do not know that the Unisoc Tiger series is actually, you know, an offshoot from the ghosts of Spreadtrum past. Yeah, and you know, they've moved on, and I'm very happy about this for them. Most of their latest SoCs, especially the T606, which is actually very cheap, and you can find it on a lot of phones. If all you have to do is just bring out your phone, get on a search engine like Bing, for example, or DuckDuckGo, and just type phones using T606 Kimoville. And then you see a wealth of phones that have been using this SoC to tell that they've improved. And many people now use these phones and don't even realize that it is the same Spreadtrum that they were bashing that made these SoCs. So you see, it's important to always have growth in life. So moving on, there are still some issues with Unisoc at this point in time that they need to address. And the very first one is that they should stop selling their old Spreadtrum SoCs to many smartphone companies. There are many smartphone companies that do this. Okay, there are many smartphone companies that do this. I don't want to mention names, but one of them is domiciled in Nigeria here. They will go and carry old Unisoc SoCs and still put it in their phones, and then they don't want to tell you that it's Unisoc inside. They're still using SoCs like the Unisoc SC9863A. Who does that? Who does that? Come on, who does that? When these people have made new SoCs available, they'll still go back and use those old ones that have 28 nanometers that heat up for no reason. Like, Unisoc should stop selling to them. And if you as a buyer, you see that a phone has those old ones, for your own mental well-being, so that you don't get angry and use your phone to greet the world one day, don't buy it. Leave it behind. So there are more modern SoCs. Like I mentioned the T606, there's T610, there's T612, there's T616, T618. Personally, that's why even if I were to get a phone using Unisoc, that's actually where I'll start buying from, T618. Then there's also the T760 and the T820. You could also get those ones. So those ones will give you decent performance. But those old ones, abandon them. Do not even go. Don't touch them. Anything that has the SC in front of it, like the SC9863A. Unless you're a basic user that just want to make calls and then do WhatsApp and nothing more. That's that. Then secondly, they're not working with developers to optimize games and apps and tasks for them. I haven't seen them do it. I've been creeping around. Before I made this video, I crept around a little bit and I haven't seen them do any of that. So unlike you see SoCs now like Qualcomm and even MediaTek to an extent where they are engaging developers to help their software, games, apps, tasks run on their SoCs, remove bugs and all that. I haven't seen Unisoc do that. So that means that generally speaking, there could be a higher tendency. You can never predict these things though, but you can always talk about the tendencies of Unisoc SoCs to run into glitches here and there, little performance drops here and there when running apps and games and all those stuff compared to the other SoCs. So that one is also another of their problems. But besides that, Unisoc SoCs are actually improved right now, especially the Tiger series. Anything above the T606, gladly recommend. The T606 itself, it's okay. At least it has two Cortex A75 CPUs inside, just that the clock speed is very low, 1.6. But the Mali G52 MP2 GPU inside, I think is decent for most everyday tasks and for not really serious gaming like that. Unless if you want to play serious games, you have to put your game at low settings. Genshin Impact, Call of Duty, I think Free Fire, it will play fine, but that's just for that one. So that's that. For if somebody asks you, who is this Unisoc people, that's where you find them. When it comes to the general third party, that's people who produce SoCs but are not tied to a brand. You see people like Samsung and Apple now, or Huawei now, they are first party SoC developers. They make SoCs for themselves to use. But you see Qualcomm, MediaTek and Unisoc and JLQ to an extent, these people make SoCs for other companies, so we call them third party SoC manufacturers. Snapdragon or Qualcomm Snapdragon will always take the lead. MediaTek is second place, and then Unisoc is in third place. So Unisoc are big. They put a lot of companies in business, but they've also suffered in the past. They've also suffered a lot due to bad reputation. And as they've suffered, their customers have also suffered as well. But they've decided to find their way back. They decided to find their way back and improve. And therefore, which means that customers who go and buy their SoCs will also see improved performance as well. So that's that for Unisoc. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments. Please, in the comments. Don't message me directly. Leave them in the comments. Let me reply you from here. Because if you send me a mail, I may not see it on time. Because I've seen somebody sent a mail to inquisitiveuniverse@gmail.com and my mind didn't really go there on time. So please leave comments here so that we can discuss things here. I see if I get a ping here, at least in less than 2 hours, I'll come back and reply to it. So yeah, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Small actions like this that help small channels like mine grow. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.